If you want to ensure that you don't die poor, even if you were born poor, I'll tell you how. Stick around. Hey guys, welcome back. So I want to build on what was discussed on our last video. And I'm glad I put the trigger warning because I got a lot of thumbs down, but I also got some questions on other platforms of, okay, so how do I ensure that I don't die poor? I was born poor. How do I ensure that I don't die poor? Well, the main factor is this. Take ownership of your life. That's it. You have to take ownership of your life. When I discussed the story about the two twin brothers, I discussed the one brother who blamed everybody. He complained about what his life was and how it wasn't his fault. And the reason he can't move forward is because of his past and da 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 da. He had a victim mindset. Okay? Taking ownership of your life is opposite of having a victim mindset. I'll show you the difference. And I'll show you why it doesn't pay to be a victim. So let's go back to taking ownership. So step one. Taking ownership of your life says, I take right now, it's making an oath to yourself, saying right now, as of today, October, 2025, or whatever day it is for you. I now take ownership of every choice I've made up until this day. I now take ownership of every mistake I've made up until this day, right? Why does that matter? Because as long as I can own my mistakes and I can own my choices, I can change my mistakes and I can change my choices. The victim, on the other hand, the victim is always waiting. The victim is always at the mercy of somebody else to come save them. I'm going to let that stick. Those of you who grew up in the 80s and 90s, if you think about it, Superman, if you remember the old Superman TV show, not the movie, the TV show, it was a movie too. Remember, there was always somebody in a dire circumstance who needed to be saved, right? They were the victim. But the victim only set the tone and set the stage for Superman to come in and become the hero, right? He's the star of the show. The victims usually probably didn't even have names. It was probably victim 1, victim 2, victim 3, right? Superman was the star of the show because the victim gets no glory. All the victim gets is somebody else to step in and save them, right? That's why I really don't like these narratives that's going on right now where everybody wants to be a victim of, oh, I'm a victim of men. I'm a victim of that. No, baby, no. Anybody that you dated, regardless of what transpired in that relationship, take ownership of that because you chose to stay with that person. And I can do that as well because I was in a toxic, abusive relationship as a young woman. And I chose to be in it. Regardless of what happened while I was there, every day I kept choosing. Because I wasn't kidnapped. I wasn't tied up in the basement. I was choosing to be with that person. But getting back to the victim. There was a book, I wish I could remember it, but it told the story of the victim triangle. And so there's a story, there's the victim, and then there's the hero, right? And again, like we said, the victim gets nothing of the story other than They set the stage for the hero to come in and be the hero, right? Think about it again with the Superman. You see a woman who's tied up to a train track for some reason, or her high heels stuck in the train track, and everyone's like, oh no, what's going to happen to that lady with that runaway train coming? She's going to be killed. Oh, and everybody's feeling sad for the victim, but she can't help herself. What are we going to do? Look, in the sky, there's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's Superman. And Superman comes in and he swoops down and he saves her in the nick of time. Oh, sits her down. We don't hear about her again. From there, Superman he's on the newspapers. He's on the camera. He's on the news, the daily news. People are wanting his autograph. People are wanting to see him. They're hooing and hawing over him. He's the star of the story. He's the hero. So taking ownership of your life means I'm going to be the hero of my story. I'm not waiting for somebody to come save me. Okay? Taking it back to being about being in poverty or not. Are you going to sit and wait for somebody to come save you, especially in 2025? Those my age and older, we know when you needed information, having to go to the library to look in those encyclopedias or going to check out books, which I still do. But now all this stuff, we have access to all this stuff. What excuses do you have? I don't know how to use computers. Go learn. They have classes for them, right? I'm only good at baking cakes. Well, go bake them cakes. Sell them cakes. Figure out how to start a baker. Like, there is no excuse other than willful ignorance. It means I'm going to choose to not know and I'd rather just complain. Okay? That's the difference. The victim, I need somebody to save me. I'm at someone's mercy. My parents didn't do this, so now I have to wait for my parents to come and say they're sorry. My parents weren't there. My parents didn't raise me. My ex put me down. My roommate did this. My brothers never had my back. My family never, whatever you wanted, you're always going to be. If they're your reason why you can't be successful, then they're your reason why you can't be successful. You see, they now hold the power for your success. That's why I am an advocate of taking control of your life. At 19 years old, I was 17 to 19. I was running the streets, party girl, smoking, drinking, fighting, pretty thug style. That was my whole thing. And I had to suffer the consequences of my actions and my choices. I could not use, I'm only 18, I'm only 19 as an excuse for my bad behavior. Because at 13, you know right from wrong. And at this age, I knew right from wrong. I was choosing to run the streets and be wild. So when I got arrested, or when I got my face messed up from getting in a fight, those were things I had to deal with. And I had to take ownership of that and say, am I going to continue down the same path that I see where it leads? Or am I going to get my shit together? I'm going to take ownership of my life and say, I'm going to start making different choices. I'm going to start separating myself from the people who I'm around. I'm going to stop doing drugs. I'm going to stop going to parties. I'm going to stop going to clubs. I'm going to stop being out at night. I'm going to choose how to move forward in my life. I didn't give anybody else ownership of that. Does that mean that every job I went to afterwards didn't judge me for having an arrest record? Sure they did, but that's fine. I'll go to where I don't have to. And that's when I really started looking into entrepreneurship, and I became really interested in it and start working for other millionaires. That's where I got the best opportunities, because I was working for other business people. And that's what opened me up to like where I wanted to go in life. And I know so many others, I could tell you so many other stories of others who have the same mindset. I'm not going to wait for somebody to give me permission to live a fulfilled life. I'm not going to wait for somebody to give me permission to be rich. If y'all waiting for God to tell you, he already told you. You're not reading that book. You're supposed to be rich. You're not supposed to be in poverty. Poverty is a curse. Okay? So the way you ensure that you don't die poor, even if you were born poor, is by taking ownership of your life. That's all for today. I hope that helped. If you all enjoyed what you're hearing here, like, comment, subscribe. I love to see you engaged. And if you want to go deeper, there's a link in the description. And it gives you everything you need to know how to work with me. All right, y'all. Signing off. Bye-bye.